the grant and how we decided to do this and the purpose and why it's important. We were able to get a grant from Administration for Native Americans. It's one of the ARP grants for language. And so we decided that we had, actually I had been for many years wanting to get the elders to talk about their history, and also to have Chief Jim do some work with our young people and actually trying to impart to them or tell them about their history, their culture, and the importance of passing that on from one generation to the next. And I think we've kind of quit doing that over the years, and at least not as much as there used to be. And so this is very important, I think, for us to, as elders, to pass on the information that we have and the stories that we have, and so that these young people can know who they are. It's very important for them to know who they are, where they came from, and to understand their history, their culture, and be familiar with it, because they live in a society where it's not out there. There's really not much opportunity for them to learn that, because we live in a white society, a Europeanized society, and so it's not like we have our Indian people all around us in the community like we used to have. Like I had when I was a kid. I lived down there at Bell, and everybody around me was full-bloods, and we don't have that anymore. And so we have to make a conscious effort at imparting our culture and the important things about our culture to the younger generation. So that's why we have this grant at this time, to help our young people, and even some of our older people don't know their history and their culture. So it's very important that we share those things with each other as we go along, and not wait too long, because we're getting fewer and fewer all the time. And so we want to try to understand who we are and why we are, where we come from, and understand. We'd really like for our young people to learn the language also. We've kind of dropped that. And so we have our former chief, Jim Henson, here, and he knows a lot about the culture, was raised in a full-blood home, speaks the language, and we'd just like him to share with us what he has.
We don't. This all got started as a result of this gentleman over here wanting to, again, make a connection with that cultural aspect of who we are. Because most of the time we don't know who we are. We know of the concept of the identity of the tribes. We know who we are in connection with that. But to really know who we are, we really don't have that. So he introduced, again, the desire to get that, especially with our young people who we're getting off into areas that our tradition and our culture doesn't teach, and that is getting into alcohol and drugs and abusing the tobacco. Tobacco is very sacred within our particular ranks, so that was beginning to be abused and just disrespected, and elders were being disrespected as a result of that. So let John tell you a little bit about how that came about in his head.
Yeah, thank you. I think about too how I was raised, and with grandparents that were in a Cherokee community, and I always think about one incident when I was about 10 years old and had a cousin return from the Vietnam War, and he was seemed to be really lost, had a lot of trauma, and a lot of times when, especially in the military, you have to leave home and communities from home, you lose that connection and go through a lot of things that are traumatizing. So, and we really liked him, of course, because we all lived together, you know, around each other, all the cousins and so forth. And we really liked him because we thought he was a lot of fun and to be around. And but you know, he was troubled, and so he turned to alcohol. And so at the age of 32, he succumbed to the complications of it. And you know, back then it didn't have as many treatment type of things, you know, that we have today. But so I remember my grandmother in her broken English said, "It got another one of us." And I used to think, because I was really close to her, because my birth mother passed when I was 4, so she was really our, you know, maternal figure. And I used to think, you know, what is the it she's talking about? And so we, and if I could do something about the it, I could really, you know, maybe do something about all that grief and pain that I saw that she was going through and others. So it's interesting. We, you know, in the kind of work we do, especially in universities, we talk about somewhere a vision for research and a vision for what you're supposed to do is born and birth. And I always think about that's when it was birthed with me, you know, when that whole passion began around helping to do something about it. And of course I had no idea, you know, at that point, but as I went through, you know, school and my career, that's what we focused on. And so we began to really think that we really needed to begin with youth earlier than when they go through trauma, those kind of traumas and those degree. Let's begin with younger age. And so when I got connected with Chief Henson, and we talked about developing something that could really help the youth to get connected, and we felt like, you know, especially through Chief Henson, that the getting connected and knowing your culture and knowing who you are, it really could stay with you, and you could go through a lot of things, but you would have those strengths. And so we took a strength-based approach, that in the culture and within all the gifts that Creator gives us, that we can, you know, live life without having to turn to things like alcohol and other things. So it's been a real honor to do this work with Chief Henson and with youth here and all over the globe, I guess we could say, and helping Indigenous Native youth to get connected back to who they are and we're meant to be, and follow those ways, and it's helped them to get through life in a lot of different ways. So thank you,
Whether we don't, and whether we're for sharing with us. When he called, it was kind of like an angel coming to visit with you that you never expected to come around and visit. And he called one night and I said, watching TV, you know, and wife said, someone on the phone from Florida wants to talk to you. I said, Florida, I don't know anyone from Florida. I'm an Adair County boy. And but from that point on, he told me kind of his interest in what he wanted, and he had a grant also to work with. And he said, I'm looking for someone that's fluent in, you know, in the language and the culture and the tradition and customs. And so he said, I'm looking for a person who would fit that particular description. And he said, and I'm calling you because you fit that description. I don't know you. I don't know you. How do you know I fit that description? Well, I've been working in our area, the 14 county areas, in schools. And I've been working in schools with young people and about their use of abuse of alcohol and drugs and tobacco and things of that nature, and talking to them about how sacred it was to remember that tobacco is an item that our traditional culture teaches us to respect. You know, respect your home, your parents, and, you know, the environment of the home. But tobacco is one thing that connects us to the sacredness of what Mother Earth gives us to kind of separate ourselves from, again, the, what you would say, stresses of the days that we go through. We take the tobacco and we go to, we call Grandfather Fire, our Creator. Go to Him, and He's the only one that really knows how we are. And so, with the need that we have. And so, he said, I'd like to develop a program in the school to do that. And so, you know, it was really right down the area that I was interested in. And so I said, okay, what do you, you know, what do you expect? What do you want? And those kinds of things, you know. And he shared with me a little bit what he wanted. And he said, but the thing is, the thing that shocked me most was, beside him calling him out of the blue, was, I want to hire you. You know, I said, you want to hire someone you don't know? He said, well, I feel like I already know you because of all the teachers that were giving him information about me being in the classrooms and teaching some, you know, some of the traditional things that we have. And I said, okay. And he said, well, he said, what I want to do is make arrangements to get you down where we can sit down and talk and look at things that we can do. And so I didn't, at that time, realize that he was asking me to develop a program, you know. And he said, I want it to be kind of a, you know, a sharing connection around, kind of like a board meeting roundtable, you know. But call it, as Buffalo Bill Cody coined the word, a powwow. Sort of like, let's sit down and talk and strategize and come up with, let's just have a powwow. Well, you know, our traditional worship place out in the country is in a circle. Everything is in a circle around that fire. And so I agreed to do that, and we've been together now for what, 25 years or so, working with young people. And so when Ernie said she was getting a grant that was related to that, that was like, I've been trying, saying, hey, we need to get this someplace on tape, or we put it on tape before, but it's not like what I would like to kind of leave with the young people that are coming up. And that is how that our beginning as the United Kituwah Band began. And it began with our parent group called the Kituwah, the Society. You know, you've got the Nighthawks, and you know, you've got the different factions, but they finally organized into, again, the people call us a religious group. We're not a religious group, we're a spiritual group. Your Baptist, Methodist, and Presbyterian, all that's the religious group. And they came in and wanted to make the society, the fire, they wanted to make it a Baptist organization or like a Presbyterian organization, because those were the three strongest, Methodist, Baptist, and Presbyterian, were the strongest in the area. And so they wanted to make it a part of that religion. And our elders who were in charge listened to their presentation. Well, they used the term God. Well, I don't know who in the society was aware that God was, again, coined, just like Wild Bill Cody coined the powwow. Someone in that society recognized that someone coined the term God. They said, if you don't believe in God, God's going to get you. You'll hear that term, God's going to get you if you don't straighten up. You know, but you know, the fire teaches Creator. And later I found in 2 Corinthians 5, where Paul talks about, in that song that Vestal sang, Vestal Goodman saying, God works, the doc heals, you know. I finally came to understand what my grandfather was saying. He would say, God, you already have living in you the spirit of a creator. He's your God, but the word God is used as a term of your behavior. And grandfather said, God stands for being good, for being orderly, keeping your head on, not letting your head dictate to your heart what you should do. And the society leaders, when they reorganized and brought this into term, they said what he wants us to do is he wants us to worship him as creator. And so around the fire, there was a very, very, very sacred use of the creator's name. They called him around the fire. The elders could speak to us, and elders only, and that is Yehovah. Yehovah. That was his calling, creator's calling. And so when the people came in to talk to them about making it a Baptist organization or making it a Presbyterian organization, what they said was, no, we don't believe in a God. We believe in a creator. Creator sees us through the fire. And so Creator gave us that fire. And they asked, they said, how did Creator give you the fire? And so the elders of the Kituwah society says, he came, his angel came to visit with us from the mountains. 7 mountains, 7 spirit-led individuals were each called to the highest peak in southeast United States. And if you're at Clingman Dome, as you move into North Carolina, you stand, they've got a place now that tourists can go to. And you look over the horizon, there's 6 other peaks that are higher than the other peaks. And Clingman's Dome is one of those. And so that's where one of the elders visualized was Creator for 7 days and 7 nights. And that particular angel gave them the message that they needed to take back down in the valley. And you know them as clans, you know. So the thing is, a lot of times when you come to an elder, we used to call them medicine man, but we were asked to stop using that term medicine man because that is inappropriate in this day and time, because the word medicine is associated with a degree from college. Only when you finish a degree in college can you be called a medicine person. And so these elders have been called medicine men for eons of time because they knew plants, they knew natural herbs were healing. They just used it. And you know, when you identify something that heals you, what's naturally you? What are you going to call it? It's a medicine. And that's what the elders know. Yeah, no, too. Yeah, but here used a thought no, this is what you use to heal you, and it's a plant. And so the elders knew that, and the elders knew those plants, and so that's why they would try to pass it on and try to get people to young people to realize this is good for you. You don't have. That's why the elders did go to the hospital when they got sick. That eventually, you know, you have to almost beg those elders back when we were kids. You almost had to beg them to go to a doctor, you know. And but then along came the county nurses, you know. The county nurses really made you not want to go to, you know, because that county nurse would just, whenever you came through, she'd grab you, she'd come here. Stick that needle in your arm, crying, hollering, screaming, kicking. She'd stick that needle in your arm. It made kids kind of afraid to go to that county nurse whenever she came to the school. But anyway, the word medicine, the American Medical Association made all of our elders, and it's just been the last 20 years or so that they've done that, and said they don't use that. So elders are our mainstay as far as wisdom, knowledge, understanding of what life is, and it's around that fire. So there's a what you would call a cultural belief. So when you hear that word belief, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear that word belief? What do you think of when you hear it as a young person? Belief. When somebody said, "This is my belief," what does it mean when you hear that? Belief.
Are you believing something?
Okay. What does it mean for you as a young person? Belief. A lot of people say, "Well, I believe," I believe, but what's, the belief of that? What is that belief of your belief? What is that? Our society has a belief, and like I said, it's in a creator. And in the study of that with the elders, what it means is consecrated. And what does consecrated mean? When you say consecrated, what does it mean?
Set apart for a certain specific purpose.
Right. And that's what the elders would teach you at the fire. It's a sacred fire. And how is it sacred? Because it reminds of a creator that created everything. And it's, it's like they would say, it's consecrated, righteous energy, always thrusting reality, your reality. And that's why I say Paul stated that in the book of Corinthians when he said that you already have inside of you to know right from wrong. Because when Creator created man, when he created you, even though you were created in the womb, he breathed that breath into you. Like the first man he created, he breathed his breath, he breathed in. And then that body became a living what? It says a living soul. Some people call it a living being, but and a lot of people use that. So our elders recognized that we are sacred, and that sacredness is related to that consecrated righteous energy. You know to do right. Everybody's like family. That's why those of us that are related, we're family. I don't care how you act, how you behave. You're still family. Recognize that. So at the fire, when you come to the presence of the fire, it's like coming to the presence of Creator. It's like His eye. When you come to the fire, you come with an open spirit of being honest and truthful, and not try to hide something. Have you ever tried to hide something that happened to you and you didn't tell somebody about it? You just kind of kept it secret. You call it my secret. You ever did that? Yeah. When you come to the fire, you can't keep that secret, because immediately when you come to that fire, that secret pops up, comes here, says, "What about this?" And now it's not another person like me saying, "Now you tell me the truth." You're not telling me the truth, are you? It's kind of like, if you hear me say that, I can make you mad. But when you see that come out of the fire into here, and you're like hiding it, it's like when you come to the fire, it's like he's got his arms crossed. It's like, I don't want to hear that, I don't want to listen to that. From me, you can say that. I don't want to hear that. But when it comes to Creator knowing exactly what's happening to you, exactly what's taking place with you, when He knows that, and it's just a fire. People say, well, it's just a fire. How can it know? Because it shines a light on that place that you're hiding, that you're keeping a secret, shines a light on it. Nobody else knows about it except you and the Creator. And so the longer you try to hang on to that secret and hide it, it's going to hinder you from being the potential person that He meant you to be. He gave a plan to you for your life. And all the elders knew that. You know, you'd say, how'd they know that? You know, well, it was through what you call prayer. In other words, when they went to Creator, the fire, like the people at the society, the Stonegrove, when they go to the fire, they go with an open heart, an open mind, an open spirit, willing to receive what comes from that. And so a lot of times people will say, well, I don't have to tell that. No, you don't. You don't have to tell it. Because you have the freedom to choose whatever you want to choose. But when it comes to Creator, He only accepts the truth about you. And so the truth is what's going to make you the person that He's got planned out for you. But I go back to that day of creation. What was it? What was it? The earth was void. It says in Genesis, it was void. And it was dark. And so darkness danced all around, you know, what He created. And it was only when He spoke. Only when He spoke. What happened? It was dark, so there was light needed. So when He spoke and He said, let there be light, what happened?
There was light.
There was light. And you know what? Darkness backs away from light. And that darkness is selfishness. And that light is truth. When you tell the truth and you come true, darkness backs away. That's why I said Creator knows when you're not developing your full person that He meant you to be. He knows that. And that's why He tries to get that light into you. But He also speaks it because consciously, you know, whenever He said, whenever He revealed that light, He said, you're not being truthful with me. Not your parent, your mom, dad, but with Him. You're not being truthful with me. And the longer you hold that, the longer it's going to take you to come when that word comes that you need to stop doing what you're doing. That light fully shines, and that's when you stop doing what you're doing. That's not proper, not to your parents, even though you respect your parents, but to Him that is living in here. So He's always there to guide us. And that's what our elders knew. And that's what that fire represented. And those 7 clans all have, do you know what clan you are?
Yeah.
And when you go to a medicine man, what's the first thing he asks you? He said, God, what is a young? Who are your people? And when he says, God, what is a young? He's asking, what is your clan? And that clan has a certain responsibility of making that family whole. In other words, if you have a gift that's been given you to affect that circle of clanship, a family, then you do that. You do exactly that because nobody has to tell you. You know by your clan what responsibility you have within that family. And it's like a parent, like an uncle, like an aunt. Everybody has a responsibility within that family. And that's the way it is with the Kituwah society. That's one big family. They don't ask each other, can I help you or can I do this for you? When they see a certain need appear, that clan that's assigned to take care of that automatically goes and assists in that particular need. And that's the way life is supposed to be in the church and wherever. That's supposed to be that way. But that's the reason the elders wouldn't go to the term God as far as something being God over you. And so they said, no, we're not going there because we have an open heart And our clan tells us what we need to do to provide the strength and service for the family. And so, you know, when we look at that, their belief is the Creator. I belong to Him. He created me. He gave me the gifts that I've got and allowed me to gain other gifts so I can be helpful to the whole system that exists. And I say, well, you're a Methodist, I can't do anything for you. You're a Baptist, I can't pray with you. You're a Presbyterian, I can't do that. The society said no. When somebody has a need, you go there. And that's why my grandmother and great-grandmother and my mother, when they found out somebody was sick in the family, the first thing they all got together and did was said, okay, there's a need for house cleaning, there's a need for laundry. And the men would say there's a need for wood, there's a need to go and fix this because the window's broken. They would just migrate to that and help each other, not say, oh, you gotta pay me this much. This is how much it's gonna cost. Cost doesn't matter in our family. We assimilate whatever resources we have to go and meet that need and not think about selfishly. This is taking time from what I normally do. That time belongs to the Creator. You say it belongs to me. Yeah, as long as the clock's ticking, you look at it and say, this is my time. But when it comes right down to it, that time belongs to the Creator. And whatever you do is done to the good. That's where I elders recognize. But after a period of time, in 1914, they realized they were a religious, and they called them a religious society because they couldn't relate with the government as far as being a religion, or being a church. And they looked at them as being a church. And so in 1914, they said, hey, we're a, what you would say, Christian organization, religious organization. And so we can't have a government-to-government relationship. So they looked at ways of having a relationship with the federal government. And they tried different organizations that they formed. But, you know, when you form an organization, you have that power struggle. You know, somebody says, I'm the boss, I'm in charge, you do what I tell you to do. You know, and so they had that faction that they fought about getting for it. And finally, they went back to the original name that they'd given themselves in the beginning, and that is a united, and that's what they were. They were united, and when the Creator gave them these things, that united them together. And so when they went back to that and said, okay, we need people from this particular, you know, clan to say, okay, we will take and we will extract ourselves and we will join as a secular group to form a secular organization that is still called United. We're still one family. And so through many struggles and through many things that has come over the past, we have what we have today, the United Kituwah Band. Not Cherokees. We're not Cherokees. The United Kituwah Band of Kituwah.